Hello everyone. At the beginning of 2021, a shocking case emerged in the Philippines and quickly became the subject of intense public discussion. A beautiful, tall flight attendant spent New Year's Eve with 11 men. After a wild night of partying, she was found dead in a bathtub. Naturally, the 11 men who had been with her immediately became suspects. But the case soon took an unexpected turn when investigators revealed that the men claimed to be gay, and eventually, all of them were cleared of criminal charges. So, what really happened that night? Today, we're going back through the events surrounding the mysterious death of Christine Angelica Dasara and the controversial investigation that followed. The story took place in Manila, the capital and most populous city of the Philippines. Manila is famous for its historic landmarks, tourist attractions, shopping districts, and vibrant nightlife. The main figure in this story was Christine Angelica Dasara. Christine was born on April 13, 1997, in General Santos, Philippines. She was the second of 4 children in her family. From a young age, Christine was known for her beauty. Neighbors often complimented her appearance, but she was also a hardworking student. To many parents, she seemed like the perfect daughter. After graduating from high school, Christine attended university in Mindanao. She was cheerful and outgoing and frequently shared moments from her life on social media. She also participated in beauty contests, dancing competitions, and modeling events, where she achieved several notable results. In 2017, she entered a beauty pageant in the Philippines and reportedly finished as a runner-up. Over the following 2 years, Christine continued working in modeling and beauty-related activities. However, she had not yet achieved the level of fame she hoped for. Eventually, she decided to pursue another career that many young women dreamed of, becoming a flight attendant. Christine successfully passed the recruitment process and officially became a flight attendant for Philippine Airlines in 2019. Because of her job, she moved to Manila, the capital of the Philippines. After becoming a flight attendant, Christine appeared to be living a happy and fulfilling life. She regularly posted beautiful photos on social media, and because of her attractive appearance and cheerful personality, she quickly gained more than 160,000 followers. She had become a minor social media celebrity. On December 28, 2020, Christine posted a photo with the caption, "Last flight of the year." Tragically, that flight would turn out to be the last flight of her life. December 31, 2020, was New Year's Eve. Like millions of people around the world, Christine wanted to celebrate the arrival of the new year with friends. She had originally planned to spend the evening with a few people she knew. Around that time, 3 of her friends invited her to join them at the City Garden Hotel, a 4-star hotel in Makati. Christine checked into room 2209 with 3 friends, Romeo Galileo, Gumman, and Joanna. At first, it was supposed to be a small gathering involving only 4 people. But the 3 friends later invited 8 other men to join the celebration. The 8 men checked into room 2207, directly next to room 2209. There was one unusual detail. Christine did not personally know the 8 men. She was the only woman among the 12 people at the gathering. The other 11 were men. The group continued drinking and partying until around 6 a.m. After an entire night of drinking and celebrating, everyone eventually went to sleep. By around 10 a.m. on January 1, Galileo was the first person to wake up. He walked into the bathroom and saw Christine lying in the bathtub. At first, he assumed she had simply drunk too much the night before and fallen asleep there. Instead of waking her, he covered her with a blanket and went back to bed. Around noon, Galileo woke up again and returned to the bathroom to check on her. From a distance, he noticed that Christine's face appeared strangely bluish. Something didn't feel right. He checked her breathing. There was no response. Christine was dead. Galileo immediately called his 2 friends, Gumman and Joanna, for help. The 3 men were terrified and had no idea what to do. They initially attempted CPR, hoping they could revive Christine. But their efforts were unsuccessful. They then contacted hotel staff and rushed Christine to Makati Medical Center. Unfortunately, doctors determined that she had already died before arriving at the hospital. The initial cause of death was reported as a ruptured aortic aneurysm. On January 2, 2021, a forensic examination was conducted. The findings initially appeared to support the hospital's conclusion that Christine had died from a ruptured aortic aneurysm. However, forensic investigators also discovered bruises and marks on several parts of her body, including her right arm, right thigh, knees, and ankles. There were also abrasions on her inner thighs. More controversially, investigators reported scratches and injuries in her genital area. These findings immediately raised questions about whether Christine had been assaulted before her death. Authorities began to consider the possibility that the injuries may have contributed to the rupture of her aorta. The police chief in Makati publicly suggested that the 11 men who had been with Christine could have been responsible. All 11 were consequently treated as suspects. Semen was also reportedly found in Christine's body, which became another major piece of evidence in the investigation. Police announced that 3 of the men had been arrested, while the remaining 8 were being sought. Authorities reportedly gave the 8 men 72 hours to surrender. The news caused an enormous public reaction across the Philippines. A young flight attendant had spent New Year's Eve with 11 men, and hours later she was dead. People immediately began speculating about what had happened inside the hotel room. Some condemned the 11 men and demanded severe punishment. Others criticized Christine herself, arguing that she had been drinking and partying too heavily. At that point, it appeared that the case was heading toward a murder investigation. But then, everything changed. The 3 arrested men repeatedly insisted that they were innocent. They said they had been close friends with Christine and would never have harmed her. They also claimed that they were gay and were not sexually interested in women. According to their statements, Christine knew this and felt comfortable spending time with them. They admitted that everyone had been drinking heavily that night, but insisted that nothing criminal had happened. They also claimed that the other 8 men invited to the party were gay as well. As this information spread online, public opinion began to shift. The families of the suspects also defended them. They questioned the police investigation and argued that authorities had rushed to conclusions without sufficient evidence. The investigation itself soon came under scrutiny. One major issue concerned the reported presence of semen in Christine's body. Although authorities had mentioned this evidence, they had not initially established a DNA match connecting it to any of the suspects. Another problem was the forensic report. Although it documented several injuries on Christine's body, investigators could not clearly determine how those injuries had occurred. Then surveillance footage from the hotel became extremely important. The footage appeared to show Christine moving freely between rooms 2207 and 2209. She appeared comfortable and did not seem to be under obvious physical coercion. At approximately 11:38 p.m. on December 31, Christine was seen carrying a glass of alcohol and following 2 men from room 2207 toward room 2209. During the night, she also called her mother and reportedly told her that she was having a wonderful New Year's Eve at the hotel. At around 2:50 a.m., surveillance footage showed Christine holding hands with a man as they left room 2209. 2 minutes later, the pair returned to the door of room 2209. They repeatedly rang the doorbell and knocked. Christine appeared to attempt to kiss the man. The man seemed somewhat uncomfortable and appeared to focus on opening the door. He was identified as Gum Man, one of Christine's friends. At approximately 4:13 a.m., Christine appeared heavily intoxicated and was carried back toward room 2209 by a man. Then, at around 6:23 a.m., surveillance footage captured Christine being carried back into the room. Another photograph taken before her death also showed Christine sitting near a toilet while intoxicated and making a peace sign with her fingers. After the surveillance footage became public, some members of the public began to believe that Christine's friends had actually been trying to take care of her. They had repeatedly checked on her and eventually brought her back to the room. There appeared to be no obvious evidence of criminal behavior in the footage. Based on the developing evidence, authorities released the 3 arrested men. The police also began changing their position on the case. They suggested that some of the biological samples collected from Christine might have been contaminated during the embalming process before the autopsy. The possibility that Christine had died from natural causes was now being seriously considered. The dramatic reversal shocked the Philippine public. Only days earlier, the men had been treated as murder suspects. Now, authorities were saying that there was insufficient evidence connecting them to Christine's death. Public criticism intensified. Some people accused the police of incompetence. Others even suspected that the 11 men, who reportedly came from wealthy families, may have used money or connections to influence the investigation. The public demanded that the government conduct a more thorough investigation. Christine's family also refused to accept the explanation. Her mother believed that something more serious had happened to her daughter. She even expressed a willingness to have Christine's body exhumed if another examination was necessary to uncover the truth. The family also challenged inconsistencies in the police and medical reports. They argued that the investigation had been careless and demanded accountability. Christine's mother even appealed directly to the Philippine government for justice for her daughter. On January 27, 2021, after further investigation, the Philippine National Bureau of Investigation conducted another hearing and released additional forensic findings. The report stated that Christine's heart weighed approximately 500 grams, considerably heavier than the average adult heart. Signs of internal hemorrhage were also reportedly found. Ultimately, investigators maintained that the cause of death was related to the aorta and that there was insufficient evidence to establish murder. One possible explanation was that heavy alcohol consumption and extreme physical or emotional excitement had caused her blood pressure to rise, contributing to the fatal event. Authorities also discovered a white powdery substance inside the hotel room. However, testing reportedly showed that it was salt rather than an illegal drug. The 11 men were also tested, and investigators did not find evidence of illegal substances in their bodies. The only notable finding reportedly involved medication associated with high blood pressure. Authorities still could not definitively explain the bruises found on Christine's body. Her friend suggested that some of the injuries could have occurred while everyone was intoxicated and moving around. There was also speculation that some scratches could have occurred while Christine was being transported to the hospital in a wheelchair because she was unable to sit normally. On April 23, 2021, police released a 19-page report stating that the available evidence was insufficient to prove that Christine had been murdered. Investigators noted that her friends had attempted CPR and immediately sought help from hotel staff after finding her. They also found no clear motive for murder. Ultimately, prosecutors dropped the allegations against the 11 men because of insufficient evidence. The case was officially closed. But public controversy did not end there. Christine's family continued to accuse the 11 men of wrongdoing and dishonesty. 5 of the men later filed complaints against members of Christine's family, accusing them of falsely blaming innocent people and defaming them online. On February 7, 2022, more than a year after Christine's death, authorities rejected further complaints and accusations connected to her death. The message was effectively clear: the case was considered closed. The controversy surrounding the case was partly fueled by the dramatic change in the authorities' position. The police officer who initially handled the investigation had publicly suggested almost immediately that the death was a murder and that the 11 men were responsible, before a complete investigation had been conducted. That early conclusion was heavily criticized. The medical examiner's report was also questioned for allegedly lacking sufficient accuracy and consistency. Both officials were eventually dismissed from their positions. There was another issue surrounding the hotel. The incident occurred during the COVID-19 pandemic, when restrictions limited the number of people allowed in hotel rooms. The rules reportedly allowed only 2 people per room, yet City Garden Hotel permitted the large gathering to take place. As a result, the hotel was penalized and temporarily suspended from operating. It was also fined 10,000 pesos. Today, the Christine Angelica Dasera case remains controversial. The official investigation concluded that there was not enough evidence to prove murder and that the 11 men could not be held criminally responsible for her death. However, questions surrounding the injuries on Christine's body, the initial forensic findings, the handling of evidence, and the dramatic changes in the investigation have continued to fuel public debate. One important lesson from the case is that a person's lifestyle, choices, or decision to drink and party should never be treated as justification for violence against them. Christine's story also serves as a reminder of how quickly public opinion can turn when a case receives intense media attention, and how important it is for investigators to rely on evidence rather than assumptions. Whether you believe the official conclusion or remain skeptical, one thing is certain: the death of Christine Angelica Dasra left behind many unanswered questions and a case that continues to fascinate people years later. That's where today's story ends. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.